Okay, good afternoon. Thank you very much. Have to recognize that I'm very happy to talk to you today about metadata, because when people ask me, where did you come up and work in open science, I always say because of metadata. So that's why I'm trying to explain today how metadata are so important and what is the Metadata 2020 initiative. Probably I'm not the best person to talk about Metadata 2020. What do I have to do? Yeah? Hello? Would I have to point it? To the air?
No, it should just be that one.
Yeah? It's magic? Okay. No? Now he comes and humiliates me. He will do tuk, magic. Okay. I told you. Thank you. I've told you that probably I'm not the best person who talk about this initiative, because it's an initiative that started in Crossref. I'm not a Crossref person. I'm a researcher. I'm a librarian by training. I'm also an open science policy platform member of the group of advisors that was mentioned this morning. But I'm a technical person. So the point is that when they choose me to introduce you to today the initiative Metadata 2020 is because I'm one of the advisors of this project, and I'm very enthusiastic of this project. This morning, with my alarm clock sounds at 4:30, I regret to be so enthusiastic about this project. But I'm really because I do really believe in the importance of the technical issues of metadata and how we need to be all of the communities working on this field of the scholarly communication in the same page. Actually, with Caroline, last slide, it was my last tweet. I said she called it annotations and I call it metadata. But we are talking exactly about the same. It depends on who you talk to. You will call it annotations. If you talk to the W3C people, the consortium of the World Wide Web, they will call annotations. If you talk to computer scientists, they will think about, or they will talk about ontologies. If you talk about librarians, we will talk about cataloging or metadata. But we really are talking about a technical issue that is the backbone of the scientific communication systems. And you mentioned another keyword, which is interoperability. So that's why we are working on this Metadata 2020 initiative. This is the starting point. I will mention my favorite metaphor that they usually use it with my students, because I teach metadata constructions and vocabularies in the Master in Digital Libraries in my university. And I always tell them that the metadata are like toothbrushes, you know, because everybody thinks that they are a very good idea, but everybody wants to use their own. And I will tell you that at the end, after all these discussions that we have among different communities, we end up with another toothbrush, which is yet another metadata schema, yet another wonderful idea. I have been advising projects of metadata in different countries, in different contexts, and in different fields. And always the most common sentence is, no, Eva, you don't know how exclusive is my field. No, you don't know. I need a particular metadata. I don't need Dublin Core. I don't need a general intended metadata standard. I need my own. This is the common understanding, and this is why in the Dublin Core metadata initiative in the community that I have been involved in the last 15 years of my research, we come up with this idea of application profiles. How any community, instead of make yet another metadata standard, how can we apply the common understanding to do something interesting? What is Metadata 2020? Metadata 2020 is an initiative that where we really advocate is for richer metadata, connected metadata, and reusable metadata. And I think these three are keywords of anything in our scholarly communication world. If we just delete about the metadata and we said something about richer, connected, and reusable, we will see that is what we want about science. And also I will add another R, which is reproducible. And metadata can also help science to make more reproducible. When we think about this initiative, I thought that is perfect on the topic of this conference, because what we are doing with Metadata 2020 is ramping up relevance of metadata in the scholarly communication system. Richer means that metadata can fuel discoverability and innovation. Connected means that metadata bridge the gaps between systems and communities. if they are interoperable metadata, by the way. If they are just silos, vertical silos, they are not going to be as we expected. And reusable metadata are going to be the way of eliminate duplication of effort. Something that really disappoints me in the science is when people do things twice. That's why I'm so advocate of open knowledge, because if you open your knowledge, you don't put it in different boxes. People cannot spend time doing things twice, and this is what happens when you have reusable metadata. And the aim of this initiative is very well defined by Ginny Hendricks, which is the instigator member of Crossref and Metadata 2020 initiative, is to demonstrate that richer metadata should be a top priority of the new scholarly communication systems and will help us to improve and achieve when we work harder together. This morning when Jean-Claude Bourlemont was saying something, this is the African aphorism about if you want to go far, you have to go together. If you want to go quickly, you have to go alone. I think it's the key issue of all this session. We are talking about different things that we do in community. This is one of the most mentioned words in this conference, communities. And this is the people who is involved in the team. Ginny Hendricks, as I mentioned before, was an instigator, as a really convinced person of the metadata should be improved among different communities. John Chodaki from the University of California, that is the convener and put all these things together. Claire Den, that is the communicator, Paula Reeves, that is the brander, and Ed Pett from Crossref, that is the sponsor. And also we are 19 crazy people, advisors, that we were interviewees of this first step, and also 7 other individuals, and we want to add more people, so that's why I'm here, to just join you in the group. 70 individuals that contribute in different community working groups. The community working groups that we were interviewing, and we have different meetings, they are publishers. How many of you are publishers here? I was expecting more. How many librarians? Okay. Service providers, platforms, tools? Oh, very good. Because I was thinking on jumping some of the groups regarding how many people we have here, but I think I cannot jump the results of the community of the service providers. Who are repository managers or data publishers? Well, that could be a specific kind of librarians. Funders, who has the money? I want to identify those. Thank you. And also Jean-Claude, that he ran away, the commission too. And how many researchers? Okay, I was expecting more researchers. If you see, I have raised my hand twice because I was involved in 2 groups, in the librarians, because I'm a librarian and I can talk with librarians, and I teach librarians to become librarians. I'm a researcher in library science, so I have these problems of researchers in digital humanities, or researchers that they want to come up with the results, and they are in a career of academy, you know. So, what are the issues that we define in these groups and in these kind of communities? We section the 70 individuals, and we recognize these seven groups, and we think that it's important because all these groups, they have been working together, and they try to come up with problem statements with different approaches. And what I'm going to talk about in this section is about the opportunities and the challenges that we found in every group, in every sort of sub-community. The point is that you will realize that at the end, most of the communities, they talk to the other communities. They say, for example, the librarian said, no, the researchers, they don't want to upload the papers. And the researchers said, no, the librarians doesn't help us enough. Or the funders don't understand what is metadata. Always we think that the guilty one is the other community. But we are all in the same business, and we have to do our best. So also, I will mention at the end how we're going to invite you to contribute and join these working groups. What about the publisher? So many of you are publishers. And what is the perception of the publishers about metadata? The first thing that we came up with was that it's enormously costly, that it costs money and time, and everything that costs time costs money. Also, that the community lacks of an effective metadata distribution model, because there are different models for different communities of publishers. Probably you have your own toothbrush. Every of the publishers, they have the standard of metadata that they think that is the best. Also, that is when they start gossiping about the authors that don't supply the full metadata. That's true, because when we are researchers, when we are authors, we are engaged on the research. We think that the metadata is something that is not our business. And also we can identify also problems that there are challenges for the publisher. For example, how we are going to deal with the previous published work. That's fine. Now we work electronically. Okay? My generation, we think that, having worked in the university for 20 years now, and my generation, we think that everything happens digital. And of course, the early career researchers, they are born with a smartphone in their hands, and they think that everything is digital. But the problem is that they don't know how to use it properly. It's the same thing. I was born when the book was invented, but it doesn't mean that I knew how to read. So that's why we need to think about how are we going to do all the work that was previously done and previously published and is interesting for the community of researchers. But also the publishers, the group of the publishers that were in this working group, they identify several opportunities. For example, that they are very good at collaboration. Publishers, you guys, you are very good at collaboration. And this was demonstrated this morning with somebody, I don't know who was, raised the hand and say, what can we do, publishers, for the citizen science? That's good. You are very good for collaboration. And also, publishers, they have a potential to work together in submission system platforms. Also, there is a very important thing that I think we need to point out, is that the publishers identify that map metadata and collectively work with service providers. It's crucial to define the interoperability requirements. So you are very proactive in working with others, but it's because you need them. That I think is a very important opportunity to understand that you are up to do this. What happened with the working group of the librarians? I was belonging to these meetings. We have 3 meetings. We have a group of around, I don't remember if we are 8 or 10 people. We cannot be all in the same electronic meeting, a virtual meeting all the time. But we identified that we call metadata to different things. And we have different vocabularies, different kinds of systems, and is what I told you, the toothbrush sometimes happen very much in different contexts. And also, sometimes the librarians, we are very much attached to legacy systems, and we are trying to change everything, but to keep everything as we knew before. It's what happened in the metadata business several times in the libraries. And also, we have invest a lot of money in proprietary systems and in different metadata standards that we probably want to get rid of those and be in the open metadata trend. And also, I think it's important to mention that the librarians they realize that they have a big problem on balancing between have a very rich metadata, you know that the cataloging, the librarians here, they probably know that the cataloging is very comprehensive, activity, blah, blah, but we have to measure the best is an enemy of the good sometimes. So we have to measure how to deal with this, extracting the enough metadata and have providers. And also, we have pointed out some opportunities, something like the adoption of the ORCID or the nice collaboration between researchers and publishers. And we are a very good community to standardize, and we are a very good community with a good expertise of metadata and best practices and vocabularies work. Regarding service provider, they identify several challenges. For example, that the lack of consistency of metadata schemas. This is something like happen in different systems. And sometimes they have a different understanding of what I call to my students the CCU, which is the content, context, and users. You need to have a clear identification of what are your users and what is your content about, because different disciplines probably they require different metadata. Of course, if we think about publishing repositories or publishing platforms, it's just more common metadata because all of them they have the same elements. But if we think about data or data sets approaches or data repositories, we will find out that we have different contexts and different users with different needs and different kinds of information that they consume, and they create different metadata standards. Also, we identify, or this group of interviewees identify opportunities, and it's the possibility of collaborate. Again, the collaboration, and build awareness between different users and different communities. I will go through the publishers, data publishers, that only one person defines as the specific publisher, data publisher or repository builder. And I will go to the researchers that most of you have been, or you are, even if you are publishers now, if you are in the scholarly world, you probably know about the research. And it happened to be that sometimes it's a duplication of effort to, we identify as researchers that it's a duplication of effort. You said in the early career researchers that they have to upload, they are willing to upload the work in ResearchGate, but also I have to upload my work in my institutional repository, and also I have to upload my work in the data repository of my metadata research team, and also in the virtual research environment. We don't have time for that. So researchers, they won't be helped on the metadata and in the whole activity around publishing their work. The opportunities we identify is also that we are keen on using ORCID, and it's becoming a very, very good standard that also have metadata around. And also the researchers, we are very good about what I call in general the motivators of will, which is the things that we do because we are motivated. And in general, those are money, regulation, you have to do it, and rankings. And sometimes we do things by seduction. And I think that the point of uploading your work with the very good metadata is a way of seduction, that you are convinced that if you do it, you will have more credit. Well, and since we don't have many funders, I will tell that the most identified problem with the funders that we found was that sometimes they are too involved in traditional systems. They are focusing on the funding, not in the research and in the interoperability and the semantic layer of the information systems. So, but also we found very interesting opportunities with these new systems like Chronos and things like that they are going to help the whole system. We found that there is a possibility of interlocutors, funders and researchers. And if we make these people talk together, we will come up with the voluntary work, which is something that the funder will give credit for you that you do it properly with the metadata. And the things that we identify is that at the end, we come up with the same thing. We are going to work in this year on these areas, on these 6 areas. I have a bigger explanation here. If somebody wants me to share if they want to join one of these initiatives. And they come up with the main issues that we mentioned in the whole working groups. Something like identify vocabularies, that they are the same. We are talking about the same with the same vocabulary. We talk about annotation and metadata, but we talk about the same. We have different standardization principles, but we need best practices for this scholarly communication. We identify, and I can tell you that if you talked about metadata with every single person in different fields, we understand different things. So we need common standards and common principles for this. And also something which is crucial, which is the quality. We need evaluation mechanisms. What is quality metadata? Which is, I always say that when you have quality metadata, you have quality retrieval of information and potential reusability of that information. And this is the invitation for you. Where are you going to join us in one of these groups? Publishers, that you are here, please join the community of Metadata 2020 to make the work better. Here we are, this is Claire, the contact, that is the main contact if you want to get in one of these groups of the community. I'm also talked to Claire this morning, and I said to her, perhaps we have to think also about all these citizen science that happen in blogs, that they are producing their own metadata, that they want to be interoperable with the whole community. So we have Probably we identify these groups, but perhaps we are not identifying some other people that they can contribute in this interoperability system. And just to end, I want to finish this with the words of one of the interviewees of this advisory committee of 19 people at the very beginning of this enthusiastic work, is that in the end, it's in everybody's best interest to have improved outputs. We would, as community, redeem ourselves if we were able to use all this infrastructure and data to delight our users and improve their lives. I wish metadata can improve science. Thank you very much.